So repetition times it by refinement equals an increase in revenue. How are you guys doing? I'm Jenny Woon.
I'm Toni Singh.
Welcome to our show In-House Podcast.
This is a fun, special episode, Jenny. Would you like to tell our audience why?
Today, do you know what today is?
It's the anniversary of our 100th episode.
Woo! I figured, why can't we celebrate it when... in Asian culture, when babies get, when they're born, we celebrate their 100th birthday. Do we not?
We did that for my son, Antonio.
Catholic churches, babies get baptized in the first few weeks of being born. When you're a fresh couple, you know, who just are getting to know each other when you're in that honeymoon stage, don't you celebrate your 3-month anniversary?
No.
Well, I did when I was in my teens. But why can't we celebrate our 100th episode?
Well, we need to. And this is something that we've been talking about a lot, right? Celebrating all of our wins.
Right.
This is a huge win.
And what I found after spending 100 episodes with you, Toni,
To be honest.
long hours, is that we have 3 successful traits that we both share in common.
What
Why
are
you
they?
laughing?
What are they? Because it's funny working together. We have a lot of similarities and a lot of differences,
Yes,
but it works.
it does work, actually. It does work. Otherwise, this podcast would have terminated a long time
We
ago.
wouldn't be at 100 episodes. But let's talk about what are the 3 traits, Jenny?
Okay, first off, the learning versus doing.
Yeah.
I the pace that you and I work on, I kind of find it's super similar. Like, we like to learn, we have this growth mindset. And most people, I would find, after, I guess, onboarding a lot of the agents at my office, is that they're super heavy on the learning side, but they're on the smaller percentage of the doing side.
Correct. It needs to be a balance of both.
So forget the 80-20 rule, the 90-10 rule. That's, you got to keep, it's got to be proportionate to like 50-50 or even like 60% on the doing side. And of course, life is all about learning.
I think this is true when you're trying to build something. Whenever you're in a specific role, which is building something new or shaking up the status quo, you're right. You would need an equal component of learning versus doing, because it's always important to be in action and moving forward. Sometimes people get stuck in the little mundane details, right? I think that's what you're talking about.
Well, that's too much of being a perfectionist. And so you're trying to learn so many things, trying to understand all
overwhelming.
angles. And then you just never give it a go. You never give it a try. So what I found is that learning about myself is I just take things into action within 24 hours of like thinking of an idea.
This is true. And I think one of the other guests that we had on the podcast, I can't remember right now who.
Just love and all.
Yes. She said that she was always first to do it, or like
She's quick to do it.
She's quick to do it. So
Yes.
it's like, you have the idea, execute.
That was her superpower.
Idea, execute. That's right.
Yes.
Thank you for saying that.
And so when you really don't, what you actually really don't know is that you often learn as you go. And so
That's life. Do you know what you're doing when you're born?
I'm
No.
going into a lot of things, to be honest with you, just going with my gut instinct and learning as I go. And I don't have the answers. I'm actually not bounded or too wound up about what the outcome would look like.
That's the mark of a true entrepreneur. Right?
Right.
Because entrepreneurs are navigating around not knowing necessarily the end result. And you're looking towards possibilities and learning and navigating through to have the potential outcome that you would like to see, although you're not attached to it.
And so I often
Great
find
trait.
like I have these instant doses of like dopamine here, and I have this enthusiasm and like excitement to just jump right into it. And maybe it's a bad thing, but it's actually
it's a good thing. It's a
gotten
good
me
thing.
to a lot of
Can I ask a question?
advancement.
You know, I love that question. I'm curious though. So learning and doing and being in action and having these ideas, have you found, what I found for myself at least is that there's so many ideas now that it almost at times can be more difficult to execute, or it's like there's so many great ideas. It's like, oh, do this, do that. So does that happen to you at all? Or is that
every
just,
day.
I'm like, I have to do that.
This,
There's no more time.
I am very honest with myself. I have all these ideas, and
Do you keep a journal? How do you keep track?
I just put it in an email. I create emails of work, and then Miranda opens her laptop in the morning and she gets 20 emails.
So
these are
great.
my ideas.
Yeah, implement them. Help me execute this. Miranda's smiling in the background. You guys can't see her. We're filming in person. She's laughing pretty hard. So,
but it's important to know that you practice learning through all the lessons that you kind of have this perspective on of after going through these opportunities and going through just trying. And the funny thing is, I'm not fearful. I don't have this fear or judgment of myself that I'm going to fail.
Now, is that something that you always had as a trait, or was it learned with experience?
Very good question. Honestly, I just don't think anybody's paying attention except for me. So it's like if I make a mistake, there's room to cover things up, I guess.
Or correct it.
Or correct it. No, I'm not covering. I'm not. Yeah,
she's saying correct.
Nothing illegal or anything like that, or unethical. It's more than anything. It's there's a lot of flexibility I find in our work. Like as long as you're doing things that are ethical, as long as you're law abiding, following the guidelines.
I think if your intentions are true.
But in this, as an entrepreneurial like CEO role in this business, there is no right or wrong answer.
Nope.
And there's agents that come into our office that are looking for answers. And I'm like, there is no magic formula.
Yes.
You have to try everything.
So funnily enough, I guess it can relate to parenting too, right? I'm going to use this analogy because I just had this similar conversation with my son in a different context. He's now 7. And he said, well, Mommy, I don't know what to do. I've never done it before. I said, exactly. When you come into the world, you're born. You have no idea what you're actually doing necessarily. It's just a survival mechanism. And me as a parent, I had no idea what I was doing. Let's be honest. I had never had a baby before. And I think that just from a life perspective overall, not even speaking to entrepreneurship, real estate business, those kinds of things, do we ever really know what we're doing, and do we always have the answers? Well, no, it wouldn't be reasonable to say that. I think that if we do our best and we take action and learn as well, like what you had just said, that's all that we can do.
What's gotten me really far as well is I'll take advice from people, but I know what's best for me. Like I know,
of course.
And therefore the boundaries are set. There's no expectations besides what I set for myself.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd say that you're very open, and then you'll still make the decision that you feel is best for you, which is important.
I want to take this example of us starting the podcast of the learning and doing and the trial, because we went into this not knowing what would come out of this podcast. And we're now 100 episodes later. We had planning. Like we planned it out with a 3-page business plan.
I think the pillars were always the same that we had agreed on. Community,
right?
Supporting like-minded women and men. It's not just about the women, but like-minded community, achievement, quality, and integrity. So I mean,
right. Those are the pillars.
Yeah.
But we didn't know what we were getting into.
Nope.
and I don't want to I accept the fact that I still don't know how this technology works, right? And we hire.
Thank goodness for Brayden.
So, I want everyone to know, just do it. Just go for it.
No, it's true. It's true. We're trying to teach our kids to do that too. Just go for it and not be paralyzed by fear. Just try it.
Right.
Or
when
just
they're learning
do
to
it.
walk, for example,
Oh gosh.
you don't you're not following them and making sure that they don't fall, right? You want them to fall.
You gotta let them fall.
right?
Yeah, that's the only way they're going to learn.
Right. And
We're all resilient. I think that's the key too. But so we bringing it back here, we talked about the first success trait that we both have in common. Why don't we go on to the second one? And the second one really truly has to do with mindset overall, I would say, right? So one trait that separates success versus an agent who might be struggling has not necessarily as much to do with the skill set, but everything to do with mindset, both energetically and holding responsibility. Would you like to say a little bit more about that and expand?
Yeah. So I wanted to explain this in a way where there's that accountability, or there's that where we're stepping up and taking action and taking that responsibility of the positive results and the negative results that come out of the action plan or come out of the results that we share. And so when we take responsibility, we're not waiting for any luck. We're not waiting for like any lucky break. We're not waiting for a significant breakthrough. We're just putting our heads down and we're working hard.
We both do that. I want to say one other point in regards to mindset from an energetic perspective. It's kind of like if you have a negative mindset, how do you think you're going to be able to execute your goals and put them into action? Well, if you've already defeated yourself in your mind, thinking that the negative outcome is going to happen and that positive things are not possible, you've already beat yourself up and you've already basically created the future. Does that make sense? So mindset, skill, yeah, it's important. Skill can be learned. Mindset is something that is incredibly integral to move forward and actively create what it is that you want.
And if you are negative towards yourself, you're playing the victim role.
Yeah.
All it means is that you're not ready to receive anything that's good in your life.
Yes. And so, Jenny, can you give advice maybe on a time when, okay, you're pretty positive, so I don't know if you had any negative mindset issues, but an example either for yourself or an agent in your office where they were successful in overcoming a negative mindset. It's possible, right? Because we're only human.
I think there's a lot deeper of a conversation that can go into this, because it could come from a very like childhood trauma through their parents continuously disappointing them, or they're disappointing the parent, and that
or perception of such.
The perception of it, yeah, and the parent is really hard on the kid, and when they grow up, they just feel like they're not good enough at whatever they're doing. And so, I'm no counselor. I do the best I can, and my conversations and coaching sessions with agents at my office are, to a certain extent, I think we establish a very good business relationship, and we go into vulnerable conversations as well. But I am very clear that if there's something deeper within that, like they're not unable to move forward with doing the action, there's a lot more
to uncover.
They need to explore more.
And actually, just speaking to that point, we do have a sales mindset coach coming on the podcast, correct?
Right.
So that will be a good episode that it'll be coming out after this one. So you guys will want to stay tuned for that one.
And finally, our third one, I kind of find we both, in our own ways, have our own marketing team, but the way we deliver our service is world class and a certain high standard. And so when we show up as market leaders,
we are world class.
We have a particular code of conduct.
Yeah.
And we hold ourselves to it in no matter what we do in all facets of our personal and professional life.
I think so. I mean, at least I aspire to, right? We're, again, only human, but I would say yes.
The consistency in our brand, I would find it's not an overnight, I would say. It's something that you really do have to work hard on, and you're committed to producing quality work. And so, you know, even just doing this podcast, going back to this, we're not doing it in our home where we are doing it on our phones, on a Zoom call. We are in a real studio here with great equipment that makes us deliver quality content. And so that just shows to us like how much meaning it is to us to deliver things that are valuable to their
I
viewers.
forget who said it exactly, Jenny. I forget who said it, but someone that was brilliant, I guess, had said, how you do one thing is how you do everything. He was an entrepreneur. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name right now, but I find this to be incredibly true. So if we're talking about consistency, high standard, and level of quality, that would be, I imagine, throughout our brokerages, our teams, our clients, the podcast. I also aspire to that with my family and personal relationships. And again, not perfect, but that is the intention.
Right. And so collectively, all three things here.
Yes.
The first one is the doing more than the learning. The second one is the mindset, having and owning responsibility for your actions. And thirdly, the high standard. This converts into what I call a triple R.
She's coined it. She's coined it on the podcast.
I love these acronyms right now
I know
because
you do.
I've been coaching a lot. And so for me to remember these coaching programs that I'm offering.
So good.
I'm like turning them into acronyms.
What are the
So,
triple R's, Jenny?
repetition, okay, which is our first one, which is the constant doing. The refinement, which is the
Quality.
the quality of delivery, the high standard of service.
Which relate
All
to.
it does is results in revenue.
Yes.
So repetition times it by refinement
Equals.
an increase in revenue. That makes sense.
It makes 100% sense. Love the triple R's.
Thank you. So just for fun, on this 100th episode of ours, I want to know what are maybe some things, maybe one or two things that we are different in a way where we've discovered about ourselves.
Different.
Yeah, the way we operate as business owners, as leaders. That works great, but we just don't share that same trait.
It's funny. I'm going to preface my answer with a discussion that I had with each of our coaches, because we're coached by the same person separately. I had a conversation with Deb and we were laughing. It was very funny. And actually what resulted from
Shout out to Deb.
Hi, Deb. What resulted from the conversation was that you and I have two very similar traits, which is probably why this podcast works, but it shows up differently. So what it was that we are both high achievers, which is why you have the quality component and additional things in here. And also, in addition to high achievement, we're high controllers as well. I think I'm a bit higher on the control spectrum as you, but we're both controllers. So those traits are pretty interesting. That can be a good thing or a bad thing, I suppose, because if you're too overachieving, then your life would potentially be out of balance if you're not balancing it out properly.
After the show, I want to know how this conversation
I'll tell
came
you.
up.
It was very fun. It wasn't in a bad way, I assure you.
No.
However, I would say our execution in how we deal with things is very different. So right from the first podcast 2 years ago,
Yes.
we were the exact opposite in execution, meaning that Jenny likes to write, not now, you're great at like being spur of the moment. I think that you've improved on that. But writing this part of the script for what we were going to talk about out, which makes sense to most people, that actually would make me nervous because then I would feel like I can't just speak from what I
Flow
feel.
with
Yeah,
flow.
flow. So it's funny in that way, because in that way you're more what's the word I'm looking for? I just had a blank.
Precise.
No. You are precise, but that's not the word I'm looking for. Rigid. Not rigid. That's not the right word. Structured.
Structured. Okay.
In that way.
Yep.
Versus, like that gave you less anxiety, and me reading the paragraphs gave me more anxiety. I just
Right.
like the point form.
Right.
And then I like to expand.
Yeah.
And I find that fascinating because there's no right way to do it. Both
No.
are great.
Right.
And I feel as though you've kind of helped me with I'm like, okay, here's the structure. This is okay. Don't get nervous about it. And I think that I've kind of helped you, if I can say that, because you're very like, yeah, let's just do it. You're spontaneous.
I mean, I would probably say we still write out as much notes as possible, but I don't write it in paragraphs anymore.
Exactly.
Right? It's more important form.
Exactly.
And I know now that we're interviewing more and more guests, I know how to structure kind of like and time a lot of the questions as well, and just make sure that we
I think that's a learning
have
thing.
a lot of like takeaways for our listeners.
For sure.
But yeah, I would definitely say that's a big difference that we had at the very beginning. Mm-hmm. Any other ones that? What was the second one that you guys brought up that was different?
No, we mostly talked about what was similar, and then just how we deal with things differently. The other one is probably too in detail for discussion on this episode of the podcast because it has to do with the hijackers and the saboteurs.
The hijackers?
Yeah, and this is what I'm saying. This is for a different episode. We can have a different episode on that. Hijackers.
I don't even remember that being
It's in the
being one of the
saboteurs.
traits. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't even remember that one.
Is there something that you have noticed? Because you're very observant. You wouldn't be so successful in your profession if you weren't observant.
I definitely agree on the controlling. I feel like with yourself being in the business for this long, you still handle a lot.
I'm working on delegation more. That's one of the things, and letting go.
Good.
I have been doing it. And as you can see, remember that time we had a conversation with Miranda and we were talking about the controller? And she was like, oh, but Toni, you let Jenny do certain things and you would allow her to have control over that. And the answer, I know why it is.
Okay.
Because before we started the podcast, when I started coaching with Deb, one of my goals for myself was to give up control. And honestly, I still struggle with it. But I know because you're also a high achievement person like myself, I can give up control because I don't have to worry about it. Does that make sense?
So you trust
I do.
that I will
I do. But
deliver the
if
way
you weren't
would deliver?
yes. And if
Okay.
you weren't you,
Yeah.
again, I'm still working on it. It's a work in progress. My team will tell you. And we've had conversations about it. I'm delegating more and giving up more control. We'll let you know how it goes maybe in a few months.
You know what conflicts though? What I've
What?
noticed with you on your social media is that you hate listeners. She hates taking photos. Okay,
Yeah, I don't like it.
When we are posing together,
That's funny.
she will not touch my shoulder. Like we can't even I can't even put my arm around her. Okay, so
I wouldn't say that's true anymore. I just, in the past, have had a thing with personal contact.
Okay, I understand. It was COVID.
No, it was before that. I just never liked personal contact.
Okay, so anyways, that's just trying to.
Yeah, go ahead.
But you don't like being in front of the camera.
I don't.
But you actually do way more like short clips and videos for your clients on social media than I do.
Actually, that is a good point. So the reason why I film those, I'll be honest, guys, I've said it before. I think social media can be a great thing. I've never really loved it. Even when all of the other things first came out, Facebook, I never jumped on the bandwagon really. I don't really use Facebook. The only reason why I went on social media is because it was kind of for our brand too, to have a face out there. But when I look at filming and things like that, it's really to bring value and service to the client. There's always a message in the video and I'll just film it, but it's not so much being on the camera. I actually just pretend that the camera is not there.
Right.
And I just speak from the heart. You know, I'm big on that. I'm like, what am I feeling today? This is what I want to say. It might not jive with mainstream society.
Well, no, it's
And
relevant. It's relevant.
It's relevant, and I'll have to say it anyhow. So I'm big on that. But you're right. I don't like taking the pictures. You can't tell from the pictures because I'm smiling in the pictures. But half the time it's because Jenny's smile. I am.
And most of your video clips, they're just off the heart. Like they're off the cuff. They're not scripted or anything like that.
No.
Which is something that is a fantastic skill that you have.
Thank you. But the challenge is that sometimes when DJ comes to film, he's like, what are we filming? I'm like, I don't know. This is the topic. Let me think for a second. Okay, let's go.
I think it's a great skill that you have.
Thank you.
Well, guys, girls, ladies, him, she, her, they, them. If you are looking to switch or join a brokerage,
Oh, yeah.
Toni with Bel Air and myself with Oakland Realty Northwest, we are looking for like-minded individuals who are proud to be part of a community where you want to support and drive each other. If you're looking to grow your business, or if you're looking to join a new brokerage and you're newly licensed, you're looking to elevate yourself and refine your brand and your brokerage's brand, we are looking for agents for our brokerage. Head to our website. Page.
In the house podcast.
Yes. Go into the join tab and fill in the form that's on there. We're going to get it directly into our inbox or DM us on IG. Come to our office for an office tour. We are looking for individuals like yourself to join our brokerage. What else can I say?
That was a great summary.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was kind of off the cuff. Good job. Yeah, no, definitely anyone or everyone, if you are looking to, as Jenny says, align with the right team and community, get in touch with us. Again, we are from different brokerages. That doesn't matter. There's going to be on that homepage where you can specify, if you have a specification, which brokerage you would like to be at. We're just putting it out there for the universe, and I'm sure that it'll all align.
Definitely. Okay. And thanks for tuning in. Please do share this episode with your friends, colleagues in the business, and give us a 5-star like.
Absolutely. Wishing you all an amazing day or night wherever you are.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.